And we are live. At least we should be live. I'm going to check it here in 1 second just to make sure everything's working well. This is only the second time I've done this, so hopefully it all works the way it's supposed to. We're going to see. Just a second.
Sweet.
If it is working, I want to welcome everyone. Thank you for joining this live conversation between me and my good friend, Ted Willis. Ted and I have known each other since high school. He is a video professional, photographer, and he is now currently traveling the world, seeing pretty much every country on the planet, I think. Is that accurate?
I mean, I wouldn't say every country, but I am traveling.
So we're just going to do a little conversation. We talk from time to time, but I thought it'd be a good idea to maybe live stream it, see if it's interesting, see if people are into it. And if you're not, hey, that's cool too. Just let me know because I can always not do these ever again.
I hope we don't bore people to death.
So it looks like on the stream, it's just your face, Ted.
Hello.
I think it's just you the whole time. So what we can do, it is working. That's good to know. But we've got to figure out how to turn the switcheroo thing back on. But maybe that's not as important. I don't know. Talk for me for a second, Ted, and see what happens.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Stranz's channel.
Perfect. There we go. See, I like it better when I just got to look at you the whole time. I don't know that anyone needs to look at me, but it'll switch back and forth. So anyway, Ted, why don't you let people know where you are currently? That's a good place to start.
So if you followed along my vlog, you'll think that I'm in the Philippines, and I'm actually really behind on editing because editing's hard while you're traveling. And I just arrived in Hong Kong today. So I haven't even gotten to explore the city at all. I just made it to my Airbnb, and now I'm hanging out with you guys.
So that's the thing. Ted, not only does he travel, he vlogs the whole time. So would you say what's your schedule like? It's not daily?
No, it's not daily. It really that's the hard thing. Like, I don't really have a schedule. It's all over the place. If I have the perfect day, I wake up early and I do a little bit of exercising, and then I crank out a video edit before I go and tackle whatever the day has in store, whether I'm hanging out with somebody that I met that lives in the city I'm visiting, or going and exploring on my own. And I'll go shoot and come back, and I usually go to bed. I don't stay up too late. I don't really do the nightlife thing because alcohol and vlogging just aren't sustainable. So I try not to do it.
Right on. Well, I can't say that I've seen every one of your videos, but I try and stay up to date with as many of them as I can. And just for a little bit of context, so for people who don't know, you started in Europe, right? So do you want to do a little bit of an overview of where you started and your journey so far and where you've been?
Sure. So I started my trip in the end of December of 2016, and I went to London, and then I went over to Spain, where I met up with my family for like the holidays, traveled around Spain. Then I went to France. I was in Paris for a little bit and was learning about refugee issues there. Then I went down to the south of France and warmed up a bit. Then I was over in northern Italy. I tried to go to Turkey, but I was denied entry and detained and then deported, which is a fun story. Feel free to watch the vlog. And then I went to Athens for a week. Then I went to the Philippines for a month. And that's where my vlog's at. I've just arrived in the Philippines. But in real life, I am now in Hong Kong. And I'm desperately trying to catch up with my edits, and I'm going to be releasing as many videos as I can in the next coming weeks. So,
yeah, I definitely enjoyed the video where you were detained and deported kicked back to your point of origin. I thought that was one of the standouts to me. but it is fun watching you travel all around, because it's not like people who watch my channel, I just pretty much sit here and talk just like this, but you spend a lot of time editing together some really beautiful aerial stuff, time lapses, scenic views. Like even if you don't like you and your personality, you still get to see all these awesome places, which is really cool. And I appreciate the time that you put into making your videos. I wish I could do the same, but I'm lazy. Every once in a while, I'll make one that's a little bit more edited, but for the most part, it's just me talking. And so I see your stuff and I get really jealous. And I don't know how you do it, because the traveling alone would eat up all my time.
Yeah, it's hard, man. I appreciate your appreciation. Yeah, it's hard. I feel like I'm working all the time. And every spare second I have, I'm either trying to work on an edit or planning my next trip or trying to connect with people that live in the place I'm at. Like I've just arrived in Hong Kong, but literally have no plans for the week that I'm here. I sent a couple Facebook messages and trying to connect with people, some locals here, but so far nothing, because the last week I was still figuring out what I'm doing in the Philippines. So I'm really busy.
Well, and people probably don't know this, but you like quit your job to go do this, which I think is really interesting. And I'm curious to see how it's been going, because I know how you felt leaving, but now that you've been doing it for a while, I'm curious to see, because you were like director of production, doing commercials, doing web videos, documentaries, all sorts of cool stuff for like, and getting paid to do it. And you quit all that to go travel. And I don't know, are you scraping by? Like what's the financial situation?
So, I mean, I saved up quite a bit, and I wouldn't say that I'm scraping by. Like, I'm trying to be as frugal as possible, because the less money I save, the longer I'll be able to work on this project for. But at the same time, I have decided to not stay at like the absolute bottom of the barrel places. I did that like one night, and it was like I'm traveling with really expensive equipment. And so when you're staying in really, really cheap accommodations, it can often be not the safest situation. So I'm not saving as much money as I would if I was just traveling to travel. But the whole vlogging thing and like needing Wi-Fi and needing to be able to like sit down and edit, it kind of requires a little more spending. But I actually, this is kind of really cool. I had applied for a grant through my church for this project I'm doing, because I'm doing some documentary things and trying to learn from people that are in vulnerable situations. And last week I was actually awarded the grant. So that's going to help me really flesh out some of the documentary stuff and be able to like hire translators and guides and even some video production help when I find stories that necessitate that stuff. So I'm not regretting quitting my job yet. Maybe when I run out of money, my answer will change, but.
Right on. Because so you're doing the travel vlogging thing on your YouTube channel, but you're also doing, is it one documentary, like one long documentary of the entire trip, or are you breaking up into pieces? Like what is, because there's a plan for something to come out of all of this, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what like a longer form piece would look like, but I have the travel vlog aspect, and then I have also been trying to shoot little documentary vignettes as I've been going, and they've kind of turned out to be much more involved than I had originally intended them to be. So I've shot a couple of them, and I have edited none of them because I'm trying to just catch up with editing vlogs. But I would like to release those on my YouTube channel as well. They'll be a little like probably like 10-minute little documentaries. And I'm not sure what it would look like to cut everything together into a longer form piece at the end, but we'll see.
What kind of gear are you using? Like camera, lenses? What are you carrying with you? Because I know you're trying to stay pretty light, but at the same time you're trying to make stuff that's high quality. So how are you doing that? And then what are the challenges associated with trying to make that happen?
Yeah, I'm really proud of myself for the camera package that I put together. I spent way too much time deciding on what things I needed to bring and what things I didn't. But because of your love for the GH4, that's the camera I purchased for this trip. So I have the GH4, and I have a couple of the Panasonic lenses for it. I've got the 7 to 14 millimeter, and then the 14 to 35.
12 to 35, probably.
12 to 35. Yeah, I'm still like on Canon brain for focal lengths for lenses, so I can never remember what I have. And then I have a like a 22 millimeter pancake lens or something like that. Man, I don't remember the focal lengths of my lenses, but I have 3. I also have the DJI Mavic Pro, and then I've got a GoPro Hero Session 5. And so those are my 3 cameras, and it all fits into a little like camera sling. And as far as like camera support, I've got the Joby Gorilla Pod, like the Focus, the bigger one. And then I've got an extra tripod. It's pretty dinky, like it's not fluid head or anything, but it's enough just to set up an interview somewhere. And then I also have it's a Steadicam Ronin. Or not Ronin, a Steadicam Merlin. Sorry, man, I'm not the gearhead. Yeah, it's a Steadicam Merlin. It folds up super nice, and I use that for some of the mini docs I've been shooting. I don't really vlog with it because it's just too cumbersome. But yeah, so I have that stuff between my backpack with like my other clothes and laptop, and then I've got a little low pro camera sling. It's pretty compact. I also have a couple Sennheiser lav mics, and
Are they the wireless ones or
the wireless lav mics, and I've got a Tascam audio recorder for the interviews as well.
do you ever regret not bringing something, or is there something that you brought that you wish you had left?
I haven't found myself in like need of anything. I do wonder if the Steadicam was necessary, because I don't use it that much and it's decently heavy. So I like carry it around a lot, but I don't use it a ton. The times I have used it, I'm glad I have it, but I'm like, is it really, is having those smooth shots really worth carrying it around to all the other places where I leave it in my bag? Not sure. And I'm not that good at it. I'm not good at using it yet. So it like if you watch the raw footage, most of it looks like crap. And then I like pick out the little like clips where I actually get a good shot.
What's been like the best part of the experience so far?
Just getting to spend time with locals that I'm meeting up with has been pretty special. I've gotten to stay in their homes, meet their family and friends, and share meals with them, and it's been, yeah, that's been really cool. And actually having the YouTube channel and having this vlog is a really great way to kind of break the ice almost when you're meeting somebody or you're trying to approach somebody, whether they're a fellow traveler or a local, and it's like, oh, hey, I have a YouTube channel, I'm making a vlog. I don't know, it's like a conversation starter for me. that gets me into interesting conversations and getting to see and experience really cool things that most tourists won't get to see.
Was there anything that's like really surprised you, or maybe wasn't what you anticipated it being like? Kind of, I know you spent like a year maybe even more than a year planning what this current trip would be like. Is there something that's really blown you away in terms of the unexpected?
I'm unexpected. That's a good question. A couple things. I think that I was expecting to be lonely, but I wasn't expecting to really be as homesick as I am. And it really creeps up kind of randomly. It's like all of a sudden I'll feel super homesick. But I think that's caused by, I've been doing a lot of moving around. And when I was planning out my year, I was like, oh yeah, I want to like spend a week in this place and then go to this place. I want to see as much as I possibly can. And when you're planning that, it sounds really good in theory. But then when you actually do it, and for the first 2 months, I think the longest I slept in one bed was 4 nights. And so I was just like moving. And it's like super burnout mode. And so I wasn't anticipating that. I wasn't anticipating wanting to just stay in one place longer. But that's kind of what it's turned into a little bit. And I've wanted to slow things down, and I'm okay not shooting a vlog in a day and just like catching up on edits and kind of taking it easy. And I'm okay not getting to see everything in a city. So does that kind of answer your question? I kind of like rambled and just like went on. I was like, I'm not talking right now, so I need to think of something.
No, it's really interesting. I think I'm definitely interested in the experience that you're having, and hopefully other people are too, because if it's something that you haven't done before, like I've traveled, I've been to Greece, I've been to Switzerland, Amsterdam, a few places in South America. So I've been around, but I've never tried to do what you're doing, like the YouTube thing as well as the documentary thing. Obviously I travel all the time for work, but like I'm going just for that one thing,
Right.
to do the job that I'm there to do. So the parameters are really refined. So I think hearing from your perspective where it's a little bit more loose, but you're still trying to be structured, is an interesting dynamic. And I can't imagine how that feels to be in a situation where you don't know what you're going to do tomorrow or next week, but still feeling like you need to produce something or be active with it, because it's not just about seeing the sights, even though it is. But then at the same time, you don't want to be so focused on always being behind your camera that you're missing out on things. I know that, like, I brought my GH4 with me to Greece, and I just had to put it down sometimes because I was, you look at an LCD and for whatever reason, you capture the moment, but like your brain almost doesn't, like you don't
Right.
put it in your memory. And so you've got like video footage or photos and you're like, yeah, I remember that, but it's not like when you're just experiencing it without a camera. And I feel like sometimes the camera actually gets in the way of enjoying the travel aspect of stuff. I don't know. Is that something you've experienced?
Yeah, 100%. It's a daily battle, and and every situation, I'm kind of like assessing of, okay, what's the value? Should I be filming, or should I have my camera? Should I put my camera away? And there's lots of times where I've decided, like, okay, today I'm not gonna vlog today, and something cool does happen, and I'm like, oh yeah, that could have been a good thing to have in a video, but I'm just experiencing today, and that's going to be good enough. So it's really hard to juggle that, and maybe I just have a unique personality that allows me to create this structure for my day and my life when there really is no structure. I'm the only one that is saying I need to do anything. Nobody's making me post videos. I mean, there's barely anybody watching the videos. So it's just me that decides what I'm going to do. But for whatever reason, I'm able to create like kind of some expectations and be able to execute on making stuff while I'm going, while still trying to balance just being in the moment and being present with the people that I'm with and not needing to film everything.
Have you had a moment where you like considered just not doing the YouTube thing and just traveling and just enjoying it as a tourist or as somebody who just goes and sees the sights and that's it?
No. I have like I have found myself envious of people that are, because almost every, no, I would say like 99% of every foreigner that I meet is there on vacation. And so they're vacation mode. They're like, oh, I just want to chill out, or I want to just go, I'm just having fun. I don't need to worry about doing anything. And I'm like, oh, I'm kind of jealous of you. But then at the same time, it's like, I don't really want to, it doesn't feel as beneficial to me. It's like not worth, I mean, I saved a lot of money and I'm taking like a lot of time away from my life. And for me, it's not really worth doing this trip and spending those resources without the YouTube thing and getting to stretch myself creatively. Maybe I would feel different if I was traveling with somebody else, but traveling alone, honestly, having a project to work on is comfortable. Because when I'm feeling lonely, a lot of times I'll just be like, all right, I'm going to go edit. And I don't know if I would enjoy traveling as much without the YouTube channel, like by myself, I'm saying. So I don't know.
No, sure. Speaking of editing, I was curious, like, are you have a laptop with you, and then what are you doing for storage? Like, how do you have one hard drive? Do you have, because I imagine you're shooting quite a bit of footage, and even though you're shooting the GH4, the files are relatively small, but still after a while, I mean, it's got to add up.
Yeah, it does add up, and I've started shooting less. Like I shoot for the edit now than I did at the beginning of the trip, but I'm averaging about like a terabyte a month of footage, a little less than that. And my setup that I have is I have 2 of those lacy rugged hard drives. So I have two 2 terabyte drives, and I keep those drives like duplicated. So they have the same stuff on them, and I keep one drive in one bag and the other drive in another bag, just in case something were to happen. If a bag were to be stolen, my whole project wouldn't be done, you know? And then about once a month, I'll take a terabyte of projects and copy them onto a drive that I buy in whatever city I'm in. And then I'll mail it back to a friend in the United States who's also an editor, and he's been backing up footage for me. And so then once he has it backed up in the United States, then I will clear it off my hard drives here and open up more hard drive space for extra videos.
How much does that cost to ship a hard drive from wherever you're at to the United States?
Expensive. It's really expensive. It was like between $70 and $90 to ship it. And then you have to buy it too. And they're not cheap to buy in most places. Like even crappy hard drives are expensive.
Yeah, I mean, you're spending probably what you're buying the hard drive for, you're paying just to get it back to the States.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not jealous of that aspect, but
yeah, the internet's not fast enough to just upload raw footage to the cloud yet. One day, maybe.
Are you doing anything, like, I think I mentioned that like a good revenue opportunity for you would be to be filming some stock footage and trying to sell that with all these various locations you're going to be at. Are you doing any of that, or is that?
I am filming it. I haven't uploaded any. I need to. I set up my accounts, my stock footage accounts, and I just haven't. Like it hasn't been at the top of the priority list of things to get done. I keep thinking like, okay, yeah, I just need to sit down and work on stuff and not go explore. But it's really hard to show up in a new city and then tell yourself, well, no, I'm not going to go explore things. I'm going to sit in a coffee shop and work. It's really difficult. And I've only been able to do it a couple times because I'm just like, oh, well, I want to go check things out, and then I'll edit a little bit, and then, yeah, I could sit down and spend, oh man, I probably have 80 hours of work that I could do on my projects right now, without shooting anything else. But yeah, it's like, when am I going to do it? I need an assistant editor to come travel with me to to upload stuff, but I don't think I can afford that right now.
So you're in Hong Kong right now, which, by the way, what time is it there? It's like 1 a.m. where I'm at. So what's the time difference?
It's 4 p.m. So I think it's 4 p.m. on Friday here.
Okay, so yeah, it just turned Friday my time.
Welcome to Friday.
Yeah, what's the rest of your trip look like? So you're in Hong Kong now. Where are you off to next, and kind of what are the other places you're planning on seeing, or is there no plan?
Yeah, well, actually, yesterday I basically spent the whole day making a plan. So I'm glad that you asked that question. After Hong Kong, I'm going to Tokyo. So I'm going to Tokyo next week, and actually, for the first time this whole trip, I'm meeting up with some friends from Arizona. So I'm really excited for that. They're kind of just doing they have like a spring break, and they're kind of doing the touristy thing. So I'm tagging along with them to whatever destinations they want to see. And then I'm heading back to the Philippines, actually. So I'm coming back, even though I just got there in my vlog. I met one of the guys I met there. He does this basketball camp for underprivileged youth, and it sounded really cool. It sounded like there might be some cool stories there, and he also invited me to come volunteer at the camp and put on a video workshop. Also, I'll get to hang out on this island and not have to pay anything. I don't have to spend money on lodging or food for a couple weeks. So that sounded really good to me. So going back to the Philippines to do that, and then I'm going to Taiwan for a week, and then I'm going back to Europe, actually. And so I'll be back in Europe at the beginning of May, and I'm planning on hanging around there for a couple months. And then my goal is to make it to New York City for 4th of July, and I'm going to do a behind the scenes of the New York City fireworks show.
And is that kind of the end, or is there something maybe after that?
No, then after that, I don't know. I just haven't. That's where I'm at so far. I'll reassess my budget then. maybe hit up Canada. I'm also really curious about telling some stories about Latin American migrants, and so maybe going to Mexico or Central America, practicing some Spanish and hanging out with folks that have opinions about the United States immigration policy.
So when it's all said and done, it's all over, how long will the entire trip have been?
My original goal was a year, so I don't know if I'll make it that long or not. Around that, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll wrap things up in August if I'm lucky to make it that far, if I can withstand homesickness and missing my friends and all that stuff.
So from the places you've been so far, what's the one place you would recommend? If you had to pick one, where should people go?
It really depends on what you want out of your trip. If you're just looking for vacation, um, and you want to like hang out on some tropical beaches, Philippines is pretty awesome, and you can see some of the most beautiful places in the entire world for not too much money. If you're into like history and like ancient history, I mean, you spent time in Greece. Greece is pretty cool. You can hang out in Athens and see a lot of historical sites and ruins, and there's a ton of history there, and then also go and hang out at beautiful beaches. So there's kind of a both and there. For me, this is kind of funny. So when I started this trip and when people hear about it, they're like, oh man, what a great once in a lifetime experience. And my response to that is like, man, I hope this isn't the only time I do this type of thing. I want to come back to these places. And so as I've been going, I've been like kind of noting like, ooh, I want to come back here and do this. So I think it'd be really fun to go to Tuscany in Italy. So like around Florence, and I think it'd be really nice to bring a girl there, or new wife, I don't know, do like wine tours and kind of just road tripping around there. I found myself really wanting to do that when I was there this time, but it also sounded really depressing to do by yourself. So I opted to not spend my time wine touring alone. But yeah, Italy's sweet. I'm a huge fan of Italy.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Greece, and Greece is kind of, I mean, it's different. It's not like you go to Greece and it's one thing. You know, there's different areas you can go to. And so you
Right.
mentioned Athens, and I was kind of disappointed in Athens just because it's so much of a city, and you talk about the history and all the old ancient stuff that you can see there, and that's absolutely there. But
Yeah.
it's like like you could reach out and touch like someone's house, like everything
Yeah.
is so tightly built around this ancient history stuff that I was it feels really weird there. At
Yeah.
least to me it did, because you think of like all the photos and stuff that people show of Athens is like recreating how it was back in the day. So,
Oh,
like in history books and stuff, so you go there thinking like you're going to see in like the middle of a field, there's going to be like these pillars and stuff, and it's not like that at all. It's like it's a city, and
yeah.
you don't think about that until you're there and you realize like, oh, there's power lines and there's cars buzzing by, and I'm looking at this ancient statue that was sculpted, hundreds of thousands of
2,000
years
years
ago,
ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever it was. And then there's like some dude eating a McDonald's like right next to it. So it's just really kind of odd there. But I really liked Mykonos, which is more of like a beachy island thing. I don't know where in Greece you went, but then the best.
I didn't get to go to any of the islands,
Oh, okay.
unfortunately. I was in Athens for almost all of it, and I went to Nafplio, which is like you can drive there. It's like a 2-hour drive outside of Athens, which is really beautiful. But yeah, I didn't get to do the island thing, so I have to go back. See?
Yeah, I would recommend. I mean, if anyone is interested in going to Greece, you can do Athens, check out the history. I would actually say you could probably skip that. I don't know if you would disagree, but then Mykonos, if you want to do like the beachy thing, but I didn't even find that interesting or unique. But I went to Santorini, and that was so cool because they've got some of the history stuff on the island. They've also got some of the beach stuff, but it's also very I don't know, cultural is the right word, but there's just like a lot of like farmland and like local little like shops and restaurants, and you can basically take an ATV anywhere you want to go. And so there's some like local fun stuff to do, the beach stuff, the history stuff. It's a little bit of everything, and I found that to be like the best part of the trip. And if someone had to like just pick some place, I'd say go to Santorini. Um, but I don't know. Maybe you'll check it out and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I think my style of traveling for this trip at least is really unique. Everybody that I've talked to in like hostels that I've stayed at, they're kind of baffled when I talk about like the places I went in the Philippines, for example. I I didn't go to tourist destinations except for at the very end of my trip. I went to kind of bigger cities where I didn't see a ton of other Westerners because I was trying to hang out with people like locals who I was introduced to and learn from them and hear their stories and get to explore the cities with them. And like that's the type of stuff that I've been really enjoying about my trip. I get really bored with kind of the touristy things. So like it's cool to go see museums, but I get tired of that. And if I show up to a place and everybody's taking the same photo of the same thing, the last thing I want to do is photograph it. I just like kind of want to go away. I might take pictures of other people taking pictures of whatever statue, but yeah, I don't know. I'm really like drawn to things that aren't the tourist destination sites.
How are you finding stuff to do? Like, is it just like talking to people, or like what puts you on the right path?
Yeah, it's mostly talking to people. I've been using couch surfing a lot, and it's been really helpful to meet locals. Even if I don't sleep at their place, I will meet up with them and they'll just like show me around, or I'll go and hang out with them and their friends. That's been really helpful. I'll also just wander and kind of meet who I meet. And a lot of times when I stay in a hostel, the people who work at the hostel know of good places to go and interesting things to do. So that kind of combination of things will get me kind of in the right direction. But then there's days where I have no idea what I'm going to do and I don't figure it out. And I just like sit at a coffee shop or sit in the Airbnb all day, and I'm like on the computer and I'm like, I don't know what to do. Why am I here? And I get like super depressed, and it's bad.
If there's someone else out there who wanted to do something similar to what you're doing, are there any recommendations or advice you would give them, like things to do, things not to do?
I would say traveling alone is good. And I would say to like not be afraid of it. At first, my whole plan for this trip was to go with friends, and I was trying to like orchestrate this project where I could have teammates on it, because a big reason was because I was afraid of traveling by myself. But when when it became evident that I was the only one that was going to be able to actually go on the trip, I had to decide, all right, do I want this trip to happen, or am I going to just like let it not do it because I'm uncomfortable traveling by myself? And I decided that I was going to try to do it. I heard other people speak highly about like solo traveling, and it's worth it. And I'm able to meet people and experience things that there's no way I could experience if I was traveling with other people. Because like I can go and walk up to somebody and just strike up a conversation. It's less intimidating if it's just me instead of me and my posse, So, but I get like financially, it's difficult to do something like this. I had a job that I was really blessed with, and I was able to save up money for a while. And it's difficult, especially for Americans, to decide to like put a pause on their career or school or whatever and actually take a trip like that. It's not something you see a ton of Americans doing. It's not really part of our culture. It's not really understood as valuable. So you have to press against that cultural standard to be able to do something like this. But I think it's worth it. But yeah, it takes a little bit of courage and determination just to do it no matter what.
Why do you think that's a thing? Because I would probably agree with that. That I don't know, in America, the United States, it seems like most people are pretty comfortable where they're at and like not getting out and about. I mean, one of the big reasons that I went to Greece, it was my honeymoon, so that was one reason. And then to Switzerland was because of my wife, and she had done some travel right after college. She'd gone abroad, and so she kind of pushed me in that direction. I think the furthest I had been before that was maybe like the Caribbean, and that was mostly just for like, let's go hang out on the beach. So why do you think that is, that we do have kind of that culture of not, I mean, the whole planet is available to pretty much anyone. Yeah, it costs a little bit of money, but granted, there are certain places you can't go, I suppose, but for the most part, it's pretty open. Why do you think people don't take that opportunity?
I think you hit on it pretty accurately when you said like people are comfortable. There's a degree of discomfort when it comes to traveling to other countries, especially countries that don't speak English. The United States, we're very isolated. You can, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a privilege to be. We live in a country where it's a huge landmass. You can, there's tons of exploring to do. There's lots of different landscapes and lots of different cultures to go and visit. And it's easy because we can communicate anywhere in the United States. Everybody speaks English and everyone speaks the same dialect. Yeah, there's different accents, but it's really easy to communicate. And so and then you add that on top of everybody typically only has like 2 weeks off a year. It's like, all right, well, you have a week of vacation. Are you going to spend 12 hours of it traveling overseas, or are you just going to go hang out at the beach or go explore a new city that's in your country where you can communicate already? I think it's a comfort zone thing and like a practical easiness thing. But what the effect that has is it keeps Americans very like centric focused and like focused on themselves instead of focusing on the world as a whole. And it's easier to not recognize that, man, there's a lot of stuff going on in other parts of the world that we aren't really paying attention to because, well, we are here in America and we have everything we need here. So I think that's actually a dynamic that I've talked a lot about with other travelers, and because people in Europe, it's really, traveling is a really central part of their culture because you drive 3 hours and you're in a different country that speaks a different language. And so everybody is very aware that there's other ways of life outside of their own. And I think they value that and they want to go experience as many as they can.
What's the best way to overcome that fear and kind of get that courage to maybe step out of your comfort zone?
You just have to do it. A lot of people have told me that I'm really brave for doing this trip, and I haven't felt brave. I haven't like identified that as a characteristic that I have just by myself because I'm still very scared and very uncomfortable. I'm outside of my comfort zone every day. And there's lots of mornings where I wake up and I have all this anxiety because I have no plan. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know who I'm going to meet. I don't know the language. I'm like in this new country. I don't speak Chinese. I'm stoked when I see English. And so it's not that I'm not afraid. It's that I'm choosing to be uncomfortable and continue to be outside of my comfort zone despite that fear. So I think you just have to decide, I'm going to go experience this, and it's going to be uncomfortable, but that discomfort is going to be a good thing. So it's just kind of deciding to do it and making it happen.
Was now the right time to do it, or do you wish you had done it a little bit earlier, maybe waited a little bit longer?
I'm glad I didn't wait. I'm glad I didn't wait any longer. I think it could have been cool to do it earlier, but I don't know. This seems like a pretty good time for me to do it because I have um, my skill set as far as video production goes is like refined enough to where I can kind of accomplish some of the things that I'm wanting to, technically wise. And then like financially, I was able to fund it because I'd been working for 5 years. So I don't know if I could have gone earlier, but I don't know. I think it seemed like a good time for me, but like timing wise, it's really depends on other people. Like I'm not married. I don't even have like a significant other that I'm dating. So I'm very like no strings attached. And as soon as you like start having those commitments, which are really good things, it makes it difficult to do something like this.
So
Unless your partner's super down.
what's your plan for when you get back? Are you going to try and get a full-time job again? Or are you going to just start planning the next go round of travel?
I don't know. It really depends on a couple factors. I really value being rooted somewhere and investing in community in one place. I don't really see myself as this person that's just going to be traveling continuously. There's lots of travel bloggers and travel YouTubers that are trying to do that. And just like, I want to keep traveling and trying to like have the social media business aspect of what they're doing sustain their travels, and so they can just kind of keep moving. That doesn't sound very appealing to me. I would like to be more centered somewhere and invest in one place. I'm hoping that somehow that this channel can either give me enough traction as far as the viewership goes, or just give me a portfolio of work that can get me a job that I would care about the content that I'm working on. I wouldn't mind freelancing. I like the idea of being able to travel and have like a home base. And so being planted somewhere and then like taking a trip for a project, and then coming back, I don't know, kind of like you travel a lot for your job and yet you have a home base in Scottsdale. So, like something like that could be cool if I care about the content I'm working on, but I really don't know what coming back will look like. It'd be awesome if I had a YouTube channel that I could live off of, but as I've been doing this, that seems more and more difficult to actually make happen, unfortunately. So we'll see.
Hey, don't give up. You can do YouTube your whole life, and it doesn't matter how many subscribers you have or how many video views you have or how much money you make off of it. If you enjoy what you're doing, I think that's what's probably most important. And you know, with what I do, having the full-time job, but being able to travel is cool. But the thing that I find not as rewarding about it as people might think from the outside, where like, you know, I think it's very easy for people to think like, oh, that's really cool, you got to travel to all these different places. But it's like when you're going there to do the job that you're there to do, you're just working the whole time. You don't really get to see, like, you kind of have a nice little blend, a hybrid. You kind of set your own pace for the work you're doing, but then you also have time to just sit back and kind of enjoy the location, the sites, and all that stuff. With what I'm doing, and not that it's a bad thing, it's just, you know, giving people the full picture and the reality of when you're going somewhere to film whatever video project it is, you're there to do that. So any excess time you have is pretty limited and pretty minimal, and most of that time is just, you know, re-energizing for either the next day or the trip back. So it's not like, oh, that's so cool, you got to travel and do all this stuff. Yes, that is a part of it, and I love that I get to see all these places, because that's more than a lot of people can say. But there's a little bit of that glamour that isn't actually real. A lot of people perceive it as being really cool and fun, and it is, but at the same time, it's probably not as glamorous as some people might
Yeah.
think.
We posed for the Instagram shot, and then we went to sleep at the hotel. Yeah, yeah, no, that's a real part of like traveling for business, that you don't really get to. It's much more difficult to experience the culture of a place and be hanging out with the people who live there when you're there to get a project done and it's long hours and you're tired, and most of the time you're just staying in a hotel, and hotels are pretty removed from whatever culture of the city there is. So yeah, it's hard, and that's why it is a blessing to be able to do what I'm doing, because I can do kind of both things, and yeah, set my own pace and go explore if I want to, or go to bed if I want to, go edit if I want to. So
And you've got the YouTube channel, so you're putting video content there, your vlogs and kind of your travel tips, which I think are really interesting, especially for people who are looking to do something similar. The tips you have, I think, are very valuable. But you're also doing stuff on Instagram. Are you doing anything anywhere else? Like, I think you have a Facebook page, maybe?
I do have a Facebook page that I kind of just post videos to. I try not to spam too much. Yeah, it's right now it's just Instagram and YouTube for the most part. I don't really tweet. Just maintaining those two things feels like a lot, and I'm like lucky if I can create some posts on Facebook. I'm actually thinking of doing more of like maybe doing some like photo albums on Facebook with more photos that I've taken in the different places that I haven't posted to Instagram. I think that might be a good platform to share that kind of stuff. But I mean, I have a website, but it's more just a landing page to get in contact and like see like understand what the project is I'm doing.
Have you run into any like real problems with either, aside from maybe being deported or kicked back to the country you were coming from? Have you run into any problems with like the gear that you have, or been in a situation that didn't go well? That would be maybe a good learning lesson.
Yeah, I mean, Wi-Fi, like internet access, is the biggest challenge in certain countries, and it can be really frustrating to not be able to upload a video, or it takes a long time. Other technical things, figuring out culturally how people respond to cameras has been really interesting. Europe is very like hesitant around cameras for the most part, especially France. Not a huge fan of me walking around with my camera. I got a lot of looks, I got a lot of questions. I was stopped quite often by like security or police for filming buildings, even as like I'm just like vlogging and doing the thing I do everywhere, but people were getting really upset. But then in Asia, everyone's super stoked about the camera and everyone wants to be on camera. So just culturally, that's something, an interesting dynamic that I've been learning. With the drone too, just like figuring out what the different drone laws are and respecting those and not wanting to get in trouble, or I don't know, break something. Those are the main things that I've been trying to navigate and learn about as far as from a technical perspective. But everything else has been working pretty well. Haven't had any major bugs or malfunctions. Charging things is interesting. I have so in the United States, everything's like 110 volts, and then everywhere else it's like 240 volts. And so like I had to buy a special power strip that could handle the extra voltage. And most of my chargers are dual voltage and you can handle it, but I need to be able to charge everything off of one outlet, because sometimes that's all I have access to and I still need to charge all my stuff. So that's been kind of interesting. And that also makes it really difficult to stay in hostels. So that's why it's hard for me to stay in a hostel more than like 4 or 5 days in a row before I need to go stay somewhere nicer and have a break, because I have to like set up this like whole thing of batteries charging on my bed next to where I'm sleeping, because you're in a room sharing it with other people, and you don't know, you can't trust anybody, and so you're always having to lock up your camera and computer, and to go like to the bathroom or something, you like put in your locker. It's kind of a pain. That would make traveling with a partner on this project a lot more welcomed. And I have traveled with people I trust that I've met and like built trust, so I can leave stuff with them. But yeah, the not being able to take your eyes off your gear is exhausting. It's like, oh, I'm set up in a coffee shop editing, and you get in the groove editing and you don't want to interrupt, but it's like, oh, I need to go to the bathroom. Well, I have to pack up everything to go to the bathroom and then come back and hope that nobody took my table with my outlet and then set back up. Yeah, it's just like stuff like that is kind of a pain.
How's the Mavic working for you? Because I know you got it like right in the nick of time. It came out at the perfect timing. Thankfully, you didn't get the karma. You chose wisely. You got the right one. How's the Mavic been working? Any problems with it, or things you wish were a little bit different?
It's awesome. I haven't messed with different picture profiles, which I know I've seen some like cinema ones that people have messed with, and I just haven't dedicated the time to exploring that. I don't love how contrasted the image is when it's like just default out of the camera. I mean, I use it and it looks good, but it's not. I wish it was a little bit flatter, and not as sharp per se. But as far as like functionality goes, the thing is a beast, and I love how quick it like folds up great. I haven't had any. Well, I have had some weird quirks that have like freaked me out, but luckily nothing terrible happened. My phone, and this is more of a phone issue, but I had like probably half battery left on it one time I was flying it, and without any warning, there wasn't like any like low power, like 20% left warning that came up on the phone. It just turned off while I was flying. And I was like, what do I do? I can't see anything. Luckily, like with the Mavic, you still have the display on your controller with like your like readings, how far it is away, your like speed and everything, your height. And so I was able to have it return to home, and it was fine. That freaked me out. There was another time just last week when I was flying it, and the gimbal got kind of like stuck. I don't know if it was like it got hit with a gust of wind, and so then it just like tweaked it, and then the gimbal kind of got jammed, and so it was like the image was freaking out, and so I like flew it back and was able to land it fine, and it hasn't given me a problem since then. But other than those things, yeah, it's been pretty clean as far as like drones go. I love it. No regrets. I'm very glad I didn't buy the karma.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, the stuff you shoot and you put in the vlogs looks really nice. I think it adds a nice extra touch to the, just that the being able to see that stuff from that perspective and all these different locations is just gorgeous most of the time. And you've been getting really lucky, I feel like, with the weather. I don't know if you've had like bad experiences with weather, but it seems like every video you produce, maybe I missed one, but they're all like beautiful sunny days, clouds in the sky. It just looks fantastic.
Well, I don't fly the drone when it's crappy weather. So, and also I'll like, this is kind of like, so I use like filmmaking techniques with shooting the vlogs. And so I'll go and shoot a bunch of drone footage one day of a city, but then I'll have a couple vlogs in that city, and I use that same drone, that footage from that same flight in a bunch of my vlogs. So it's not like every time I fly the drone is from that day of the vlog per se. And then I try to fly it like magic hour or when like the lighting's best. But I have gotten pretty lucky with weather for the most part. In Europe, there's definitely some like nasty days. I got stuck in rain and cold and didn't bust the drone out at all for that. But even with those days, there's, other than like water and cameras not mixing well, you can still get some really beautiful shots of the city.
For sure. What's your process for churning out a vlog the fastest? I know you said you're a little backlogged right now, you got to catch up, but like, I feel like you kind of refine the process a little bit as you go, and I'm sure every time it gets a little bit better. From where you started, where you're like, I'm going to do this travel vlogging thing, I'm going to make these awesome videos, from where you started to where you are now, from the editing process standpoint, are there any like tips or tricks that you could provide?
Yeah. So basically I have gotten it refined down more to where I can edit. If I like sit down and focus and I have like 3 hours, which is about the amount of time it takes me to like edit an entire vlog. I basically cut it for the most part in order of how I shot the day. And I'll like have my intro thing I do with my drone footage. I'll like pick some teaser aspect from the edit after I cut it together. Like, what's the most important part that kind of will hook people in, and I throw that at the front. But then as far as I shoot it, I try to shoot for the edit. And so I am always switching my frame rate while I'm vlogging. And so I'll like point the camera at me and talk at 23,976. And most of the time I'm shooting B-roll, I'm shooting at 60 frames a second for a couple of reasons. One, it kind of looks cooler, gives it a more cinematic effect. You can, without using a stabilizer, you can do some cinematic movements that look smoother when you slow it way down. But also, you don't have to hold your shot as long for B-roll. So I can get a 2-second clip in real time, and then when you convert it to 24 frames a second, it's actually like 10 seconds. So that's been really helpful, especially if I'm exploring a city with other people and they're not wanting to wait around for me to get all these different shots. So I'm just like popping things off, but because I'm shooting at a high frame rate, I don't need to hold the shot for as long. And so I'll just be going around, I'll like vlog, I'll shoot B-roll, and then when I sit down, I cut everything together basically in the order that it comes, and then I lay music on it and line things up to the beat and color really fast and out it.
Where are you getting your music from? Because usually, I think you have a few tracks that you use over and over again, but you do have a good variety.
Yeah, there's a couple songs that I really like that I've used a couple times. I wasn't sure if anyone's noticed that or not, so maybe I got caught. But I use all the music I use is off of SoundCloud, and I basically have reached out to artists and asked them permission to use their songs. And I find the artists a variety of different ways. I'll go and watch other YouTube videos, and if they have cool music, I'll be like, oh, whose song is that? And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go ask that artist if I can use their stuff too. And more times than not, they'll give me permission. Or I'm just like browsing SoundCloud and find some cool stuff. There's a couple artists that I really like. The one that I use the most, because this guy, so his Melatones, I think is the name of his band or artist's name or whatever. He has this like whole like album of like 30 songs that are all pretty sweet. So I was able to just like get a whole bunch in one go, and they're kind of like similarly structured, and like a lot of them kind of sound similar, but that it's just like cool kind of jazz backbeat stuff. I like editing with like jazzy beats. I think it gives a cool effect to it, especially with the slow motion stuff and like cinematic B-roll. And that saved me a lot of time, having a library of music that I can just go and drop in. I'm not hunting for songs every single time I'm editing a video.
Yeah, that can be some of the most time-consuming stuff that you do, is just finding new music that matches, that fits, figuring out how to secure a license for it or get permission to use it. So
Yeah.
I know with like stuff that I do, like it's like once I find a couple songs for like my personal stuff, like on YouTube, it's like that's kind of what I want to stick with, because there's so much other stuff in terms of making regular YouTube content that is just time consuming, that the more components of it that I can streamline as part of that process, and the faster I can get stuff out, means I can make more stuff the next week or whatever, because there's times where like I don't have a week to make content, for what I'm doing. So I have to like kind of get ahead of it a little bit, and then like it'll run its course, and then I have to like catch back up. So it's constantly this, repeating this process over and over and over again. So when you're doing the same thing over and over again, the faster you can make that and the more efficient you can make it, obviously, the better. And, it probably, the quality suffers a little bit, but, if you're not a YouTuber who's got, millions of subscribers and it's like your full-time thing, it's like, I do my whole, like I have a full-time job, and then the YouTube is just the side thing. And you're doing the travel thing as the main thing, and YouTube is a component of it as well. But it's not like, you're going to make a video and make thousands of dollars off of it, and it's really worth it to invest the time.
Right. I think I invest too much time in my edits. I think 3 hours is too much for, like, I'm really proud of them, and it's hard for me to do anything less than what I'm doing. Like, we've talked about how much I value production value and like having things look good, and it's been really hard to let that go. And I mean, there's vloggers that, like, not to hate or anything, but they're like put out stuff. It's not like good as far from like a cinematic perspective. It's just like, I'm filming my face, I'm filming walking, and then they edit it, and it's just like music, and it's like they spent maybe 45 minutes on an edit, and that's fine because they have like 100,000 views on it. It's like not having a really great video does not equal getting a lot of views. Unfortunately, I think I haven't figured out what equals getting a lot of views formula. Trying to do the things, but it's hard, man.
There's a clear divide in my head, and I feel like kind of a hypocrite sometimes, because I'm like, talking about production techniques and how to make things look and sound better and all that. But there's a clear divide mentally for me between like the work that I do professionally for clients that like, they're paying for, so it absolutely needs to be the best quality possible. And then the personal stuff that I do for YouTube, where I'm like, no one is paying me for this content. It's my own free time that I'm making video content with. So I'm almost like, do the bare minimum. And that's why I feel like such a hypocrite, because I'm like, oh, you need to have really good quality content, and here's all the things you do, and you need to color correct, and you need to have B-roll, and then it's like I don't do any of it for my personal stuff, and I should make it better, but it's just like, for whatever reason, I'm like, I maybe it's because I invest so much in the professional stuff that by the time it comes to the personal stuff, I'm just exhausted, and I like don't want to do it anymore. But yeah, it's just like there's only so many hours in the day, and if I've got a couple hours at night, like I can't sink a week into one video, at least not yet. And mentally, it just doesn't seem worth it. in terms of the effort that's put into it. But I'm sure that like frustrates a lot of people because they like want YouTube, because like YouTube is full of so many really good content creators. There's so many people out there making amazing videos that like I think people are getting used to that in terms of watching that. And then so the people who aren't doing that, you either have to have like a really strong personality, like you're really funny or you're really smart, or there's some hook aside from like the production value that gets people to engage with it. And that's like a huge challenge for a lot of people, I think, myself included. So it's definitely interesting. And sometimes I like try and push myself. I'm like, I'm gonna make this video a little bit better. But then I just kind of like, I'm gonna be lazy with these other ones.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's hard, especially when like you don't really. It's hard to tell if the content you're making matters or is paying off, or if your strategy is working. Like I have this like kind of 3-part strategy to content and trying to, as far as channel growth goes, and it's trying to do like the travel tips that people might be searching for to try to learn about traveling, and trying to do gear reviews that people would be searching for. And so really like hitting that SEO stuff, and then having these vlogs that people can connect with. And so they're like, oh, I want to actually subscribe and follow along. And then trying to make the vlog titles as SEO friendly as they can be for whatever the content is in them. But as far as like doing things like collaborating with other YouTubers to kind of share audiences and or even other people on social media, it's hard to actually make that happen. I don't know have you experienced that? Have you done, I know you've done a few collaborations with people. Is it like, how do you go about that? I've emailed some people, I've gotten some responses, but others I just haven't heard back from at all. And essentially I've like done almost no collaborations with other folks other than you. So
yeah, it's collaborating with, you know, like we've been friends since high school, so I don't know if that's like a collaboration or what that is, but
right.
No, I mean, I've definitely there's people that like, I love YouTube. I am subscribed to a bunch of different channels. I watch YouTube more than anything else, more than movies, more than TV. I love YouTube. I love watching it. I love producing content for it. And so there's a lot of people that I follow that I would absolutely love to do collaborations with. But it's kind of the thing, like it's almost kind of like dating, you know, where like if you're like a 7 or an 8, you're probably going to date a 7 or an 8, maybe a 9 if you're lucky. Maybe some people go down to a 6, but it's not like a 1 is snagging a 9. You know, that's
right.
not happening. So like same thing with like YouTube channels. There's almost this thing of like, if someone has a bigger audience or a lot smaller audience, there's almost like this like taboo, like, oh, you don't want to do something with them because they're like so far beneath you, or they're like way too they're bigger than you. So it's really odd trying to find other people who are like at your level. And it's so weird that it's like that, and it's become that. So the collaboration thing I think is cool when you can make it happen, but for like smaller channels, it's pretty challenging, I think, and probably not something that's a priority. But I don't know. That's been my personal experience. I'm sure there's probably other people on YouTube who are like, oh no, collaboration is the only way you grow. And I know it's certainly a good way to grow, because obviously if you're if you're tapping into someone else's audience, that's really helpful to grow your own audience. But it's also kind of a like it's not always guaranteed to work. You know, it's not the silver bullet, because you could be terrible at what you do, and then collaborate with somebody who's a lot bigger, a lot better, and their audience still isn't going to respond to you because you're just not at the point where you need to be. And so that's why I think, you know, for as much as YouTube has changed and become much more monetized and branded, and structured in terms of like limiting people and giving the big voices louder voices and kind of making the smaller voices smaller, I still think it is a really, really good platform for talent to shine, because if you get out there and you're good at what you do, and you get better at it by just doing it, I think people will notice that and you'll stand out and you will see your channel grow. I think anyone that does YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or any social media thing, you're going to see growth. It's just the rate at which you grow. And I think some people get really lucky for whatever reason, it just happens. It works for them. And other people, it takes a lot longer. But I would say that almost any person on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, they started somewhere really, really small and their content was much worse than it is today. It's very easy to look at the huge channels and the huge profiles and be like, oh my gosh, they've got it made, but like they had to start at zero at some point too. And their content sucked at the beginning, just like everyone's content sucked at the beginning. I think when I decided to like do YouTube, like actually invest in it, my videos it was me talking and I only had like a picture, like a static photo. Probably like the worst kind of content you would put on a video platform, just a static photo. But that's what got me to start doing it. And then at a certain point I was like, you know what, I might as well turn my camera on. But then it's like, all right, that's more editing. And now I can't, easily I can't make a mistake and then cut it out and it's seamless. I either have to do jump cuts consistently through the whole video, or I have to get better at talking naturally and not making mistakes, which is what I've kind of opted for, because like I said, I'm lazy. I don't want to do jump cuts through my whole video because that takes editing. It's time. I know it's really popular on YouTube, but I'd rather just talk perfect for like 10 minutes and that's the video, and I can just kind of put an intro and outro on and upload it.
Man, that sounds so easy.
I know, right? I know, but it's not good content. I mean, maybe it is. I don't know what people think, but that's kind of been my approach for now, and it'll change eventually. But as far as collaborations go, take the opportunity when you can. Obviously, if you make something work, but I think actively trying to like hunt them down and like make it happen and being a priority, it's like you could probably invest your time somewhere else and have it be more fruitful.
Yeah, I've definitely tried to like do both. I've like run across people that have like YouTube channels. I got a ride from some Spanish bloggers when I was in Milan after I got back from Turkey. That was cool. I wouldn't call it a collaboration. I mean, they gave me a shout out. I gave them a shout out. Neither of us have very many subscribers, so I doubt it like helped. And like their subscribers speak Spanish, so I don't know if they'd be into my channel. Yeah, I've also tried to like do more philanthropic projects and kind of pitch that to people that are bigger than me. Like probably I would say that I'm like a 0.5 on the 1 to 10 dateable scale. And I was like pitching some people that are like 6s. I heard back from 1 6. Other people not so much. I've heard back from some other 0.5s, and I would be down to collaborate with a 0.5, but I'm not going to change my itinerary and book flights to go and meet up with a 0.5. I'll go meet up with a 5 or a 6. I'll fly. I'll pay for a 7 or 8 to come meet me, and I'll pay for their expenses. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think the chances are of me convincing Casey Neistat to come do behind the scenes of the New York City fireworks show?
I think you should stop talking about Casey Neistat. That's what I think you should do.
I stopped. I haven't mentioned him in a video in a long time.
I think you just mentioned him in like your last video.
Did I?
Yeah, because you like took a shower on some plane or something.
Oh, I did.
No. I mean, that's this kind of stuff that's like so far out of reach. Like, hey, if you can swing it, man, that would be huge. But I don't know. I just, you always need help from the people around you, and you need support to do anything, whether it's YouTube or your career. If you're learning something or you're trying to get a job somewhere, you need help from the people around you and other people who have been there before. It's very helpful to have people who are mentors and can give you advice and wisdom and help you. But at the same time, I don't want to be one of those people that's just riding on someone else's coattails. Like, if someone else is successful, great. And if I'm friends with them, awesome. But I don't want my success to be determined by their success. I want to be successful on my own. And if I'm not good enough, I don't want them just propping me up. I want to be able to do it myself and make it myself, because I think that's far more rewarding. I'd rather have 5,000 subscribers naturally and organically than 50,000 that someone just kind of gave to me for free and I didn't really earn it. I guess it just feels a little dirtier to me, and that's not to say like it's a bad thing. It's just, for me personally, I'm much more rewarded, and I think it makes me a better creator and a better person when I'm getting the natural organic feedback from somebody saying like, oh, this video was awesome, it was really helpful, really informative. And then the times where people just hate it and they're like, this is boring, you don't know what you're talking about, way to do clickbait, whatever. And like both forms of feedback are good, because it can structure the next video and the next type of video or the next edit or the next topic. And I need that, rather than just like, oh, great video, so-and-so sent me here, I'm just here to click and you get your ad revenue or whatever. It's like, it's not about that for me. It's about making like, I started my channel because I was watching YouTube and I wasn't seeing the kind of content that I wanted in terms of video production, filmmaking. There's a lot of the same kind of thing, test footage, maybe some gear reviews, but it was all very structured. It was either very like intentional or very, there was no personality to it. I felt like it was very dry and boring. And seeing what YouTube is, with how much personality there is on the platform, I was like, well, if I want this kind of content in video production, surely there must be other people who would be interested in something similar. So that was kind of my approach, was kind of make the content that I think I would probably want to watch. And not that I watch my own videos, because I actually can't stand watching myself and watching my own videos. I hate it, as most people I think do. Yeah. Which is another reason why I don't edit my videos. If I don't have to edit them, I don't have to watch them. That's the key. But having that feedback from a real community and real people can really send you the right direction. So I might have started in one place, like, I'm going to do this kind of thing, but then based on people's feedback, it's like, oh, people would actually really prefer if I did this, or I talked about this, or I showed that. And then I know where to go. And then real quick, I have no idea if this comment was on this video or a different video, but it was irrelevant to what we were just talking about. Some guy said, I don't even know his name because this notification doesn't show me, but he says, I find it amazing how you can speak coherently and to the point for a straight 12 minutes. Can I ask how you've gotten so good at doing your vlogs? Since he asked, and maybe it's on this video and maybe it's relevant, I don't practice. I guess just do it. The more you speak and the more you have to watch yourself speak. So that is a good part. If you watch your videos after you do them, you can realize all the things you do that you hate. I find myself using the same word over and over again in one video.
Me too. Yeah.
And that's the worst. So I try and avoid that as much as possible. And then a lot of it is just, it's practice. And I don't know if I have any other like tricks that I do. I just kind of pretend that I'm talking to a real person who's actually listening. Because that's the thing, in real life, you have conversations all the time and you don't have to like think about what you're going to say, really. You don't have to do take one, take two, take three. You just have a natural conversation. Like what we're doing right now. Yeah, there have been some ums, there have been some pauses, there's been some thinking, but it's natural, it's organic, versus some people when they get on camera, they freeze up. I've also been on camera a lot over the years, so maybe that helps too. I don't have like this stage fright.
Yeah, I think it helps being knowing what you want out of someone being on camera, and so then you can perform it. For me, when I'm talking in person, a lot of times I do like pause and think about what I want to say before I say it. And so that doesn't come off very great when you're on camera. I don't mind editing my jump cuts. I need to, otherwise it won't be coherent and it'll take forever. But I have gotten better at vlogging since I started it. I'm afraid to watch my early stuff because I had people say to me like, well, you're really weird on camera. I'm like, I don't know. I just started. I'm practicing. I don't know how to do this, but I feel like I've gotten a lot more comfortable with it since I've been doing it all the time. And now I can talk to the camera wandering around the streets of a foreign country and be getting weird looks from people and still be able to articulate what I'm talking about. And just sending it, man. You can't care that much.
Yeah, it's just that practice. You get the kind of muscle memory of it. You get a feel for it. You kind of get into a groove. And there's something else you mentioned that I was going to say. It sparked a thought in my head, but I forget it now. So I don't know. What were we just talking about? It was, I don't know. I don't recall. But no, I appreciate you spending some time chatting. It's been good to catch up, even though we did it like in front of people on YouTube. Like, it's kind of weird. Normally our conversations are just like one-to-one and it's not public, but hopefully people were able to get something valuable out of it and find it interesting. I definitely recommend if you watch this and you're into what we've been talking about, go check out Ted's channel. It's really cool. He edits a lot better than I do for his YouTube stuff. He spends a lot more time making it interesting and entertaining. And I'm not going to say all of them are entertaining.
Yeah, there's some rough ones.
No. But in general, I think you've got some really cool stuff. You get to see all sorts of new places. And you know what's cool is that everyone's got their own unique perspective and ideas on things. And so even if you've seen, you know, all of Europe, you haven't seen it through Ted's eyes, you haven't seen it through my eyes. So maybe when I travel, I have some like old videos. Like, that's kind of what I first started doing, was when I went to Switzerland. I made some just like really weird.
Bust out the archives, man.
It's yeah, I did like these weird, like I was almost like a tour guide, I guess, where I would like, someone like would tell me something, you know, or I'd read something somewhere and then I would just make a video kind of reiterating the same thing.
That's what I do all the time. I'll read a sign and then pretend that I'm like educating these people on it, and I'm like, oh, the sign's right there. I don't know anything about this place.
Like, yay for plagiarism. Yay.
Hey, I give credit sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's I mean, if other people aren't there, I mean, it'd be really boring to like just take a photo of a sign and upload it. So just talk like you know what you're talking about. But yeah, it's funny. I did a little bit of travel vlogging myself, but it was just like one take. Again, no editing. I'm apparently really lazy when it comes to YouTube videos, so I just
here
it is.
It's uploaded. You're all about the fancy edits with the other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if someone's paying for it, like, they deserve the best. If I'm just doing it on my own, it can be whatever.
Are you saying we don't deserve the best from you, Strons?
That's exactly what I'm saying. You get the scraps, the leftovers.
All right, I'll take what I can get.
All right, cool, man. Well, I think we've spent enough time. I think this is going to be a long video. I don't even know how long you've been talking. It's over an hour for sure. I've been trying to keep an eye on the clock, but
we got it. We shot a feature.
Yeah, exactly. This is full-length feature documentary right here. Just two people having a conversation. But no, for real, if you know what else I didn't mention? The entire time this microphone has been here, this is not the microphone I'm using. I couldn't get it to work, so it's been my laptop audio.
It's a prop.
So yeah, it's just for show. And that's actually that I couldn't get it to work. I couldn't get the levels of this to match Ted's level, so we just kept it simple. It sounds a little bit worse on my end, but hey, maybe that's better for consistency. But anyways, we will end it there. Thank you, Ted, for spending some time, stepping away from your time in Hong Kong, just sitting in a room talking to me. But go check out Ted's channel. What's your Instagram?
Teddy Dub, TEDDY__DUB. Teddy Dub.
And that's where you can see all the photos that you take, right? I
Yeah.
like the photos you post. They're very artsy.
Oh, I try.
You never post like behind the scenes stuff of like your like setups or any like your camera stuff.
Should I? I mean, it's the same setup every time. It's a camera on a GorillaPod. But
No, but like if you're doing like an interview or something for like the documentary stuff, I don't know. I think it'd be kind of interesting to see.
I should do that. Usually I'm so focused on setting up for the interview that I can't think of behind the scenes also. But next time I'll try to remember to get a behind the scenes photo and post it on Instagram for Strawn's Vanderpool. I'll tag you.
All right, cool, man. I will look forward to it. And again, thanks for hanging out with me for a little bit. It's been cool. I like hearing what you're up to and hearing about your travels. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah, for sure. It was good catching up with you, man.
I'll talk to you later, man.
All right, bye.